The top 8 wildest survival stories that will make you question your own strength. Number 8. Mary Vincent. California is no stranger to roadside crime, but this story is so disturbing that you may want to skip ahead. Mary Vincent was just 15 years old when she experienced one of the most terrifying hitchhiking gone wrong stories that the world has ever heard of. On September 29, 1978, the teenager decided to run away after experiencing hardship at home. She was picked up on the side of the road by truck driver Larry Singleton. This evil man assaulted her, and when she asked to be set free, he responded by cutting off her arm, right above the elbow. Mary fought back and lost her second arm before Singleton left her for dead in a ditch on the side of the road, nude and quickly losing blood. Not one to give up easily, she used every ounce of inner strength to survive. She put her elbows in mud to stop the bleeding and then hiked up the cliff to the highway. Miraculously, she was rescued by a couple on their honeymoon. She survived this horrific experience and went on to become an advocate for victims of violence. If you think this story is incredible, you won't believe number 1. Number 7. The teen mom who saved her baby after a plane crash. It's one thing to survive a plane crash, but to follow that up with 5 days in the Colombian jungle with an infant is truly incredible. In June 2015, this story became a reality for 18-year-old Marinella Murillo. Her plane crashed, killing all on board except herself and her 9-month-old son. Left alone in the jungle with several wounds and minor burns, the teenager did all she could to survive. She moved away from the accident in case leaking fuel caused an explosion and built a small shelter to stay dry from the rain. She drank coconut water to keep herself and her son conscious. Incredibly, after days of searching for survivors, the rescue team was on the verge of giving up when they found Marinella and her son and brought them back to safety. Number 6. Buried alive. 2015 was a year ripe with accidents, and New Hampshire resident Dean Mullins can attest to this. That year, his town experienced record-breaking freezing temperatures, and shoveling snow was a daily occurrence. Unfortunately, Dean almost lost his life that February while clearing his roof from heavy ice. As he was finishing the job, a massive amount of snow quickly fell and pinned him on his back. He had no time to move and was eventually buried to where he was no longer visible. With his family out for the rest of the day, his odds of rescue were slim. Fortunately, he was able to make a small pocket for air and was able to stay conscious for a crushing 4 hours before his wife came home and heard his muffled cries for help. Thankfully, he was rescued in time and suffered no major injuries. Number 5. Struck by lightning 7 times. Rumor has it that lightning doesn't strike the same place twice, but this isn't the case for Roy Sullivan. The Virginia forest ranger was hit by lightning on a shocking 7 different occasions. His strange bad luck has put him in the Guinness Book of World Records. The book lists his injuries, stating, his attraction for lightning began in 1942, where he lost his big toenail, and was resumed in 1969, where he lost his eyebrows. In July 1970, his left shoulder was seared. Then, on April 16, 1972, his hair was set on fire. On August 7, 1973, his new hair was singed again and his legs were seared. On June 5, 1976, his ankle was injured, and on the 25th of June 1977, he experienced chest and stomach burns. This is an impressive list of injuries for a survivor of lightning. It's hard to decide if we should call him the most unlucky or the luckiest man in Virginia. Number 4. A true castaway. Jose Salvador Alvareña's incredible story has puzzled many voyagers since his rescue in 2014. For 13 harrowing months, the Salvadoran fisherman drifted alone at sea in a 7-meter boat after a storm caused him to go off course during a fishing trip in Mexico. One of his crewmen died along the way, and Alvareña struggled with isolation. For a time, he even kept his former friend's body to talk to. The survivor said that he nourished his body through the 5,000-mile voyage by drinking urine and rainwater, and by eating fish, birds, and turtles. Eventually, his boat washed ashore on a deserted beach in the Marshall Islands, and Alvareña was rescued by a small group of coconut farmers. Number 3. A plane crash with crocodiles. Teenagers surviving plane crashes in the jungle seem to be a common theme here today. In 1971, 17-year-old Julianne Kepke defied all odds after her plane fell 2 miles from the sky and crashed into the Amazonian mountains. For an unbearable 10 days, she survived on sweets found at the site and searched for help while trudging through crocodile and piranha-infested waters. The poor thing suffered from severe injuries and eventually had to pour gasoline from the fuel tank on her wounds to clear them of maggots. Thankfully, she was rescued by a group of Peruvian lumberjacks who brought her to safety. Eventually, she moved to Germany, where she fully recovered from her injuries. All right, Toast Team, we have 2 to go, and the most shocking is yet to come. Number 2. Left to die on Mount Everest. After accomplishing his lifelong dream of summiting the tallest mountain in the world, Lincoln Hall's body began to shut down, indicating extreme altitude sickness. On his descent, the mountaineer eventually stopped exhibiting signs of life. His guide spent 2 hours trying to resuscitate him before abandoning him with plans to retrieve his body the following day. Defying all odds, Hall was discovered nearly 12 hours after he was proclaimed dead by a group of ascending climbers who found him to be alert and sitting peacefully on a ridge. He was rescued and guided to safety where he fully recovered. Lincoln Hall's brush with death has been shared with countless mountaineers as a warning to the dangers of altitude sickness on Mount Everest. Number 1. Black Mamba Snakebite. In 1998, student Diane Pinar was living his dream, studying the habits of white rhinos in the wild of South Africa. It was during this researching trip that his dream turned into a nightmare. He went out on a trekking expedition alone, and despite his better judgment, forgot to tell anyone where he was going. While wading through the waters of a stream, he suddenly saw a large brown snake and felt a sharp pain on the back of his knee. It did not take long for him to realize that he had just received a bite from a black mamba snake, one of the most deadly venomous reptiles in Africa. Thinking quickly, Pinar knew that he had just moments to live, and his only hope for survival was to make it back to his car and attempt the long drive back to town. The venom rapidly took over his body, despite his attempt at tying a tourniquet around his leg for protection. He stumbled in and out of consciousness as he pushed his way back through the jungle, eventually making it to his car. The venom spread quickly as he drove as fast as he could. Thankfully, he found another person who could help before collapsing. He made it to the hospital as complete paralysis took over. Thankfully, the doctors were able to provide anti-venom and he slowly recovered. There you have it. These 8 stories are inspiring and teach us not to give up. Do you think you could make it through any of these experiences? Do you have a survival story of your own? If so, we want to hear about it. Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this.